Hey, how's it going? Dave 2D here, and this is the newest Razer Blade Stealth. This is running the 8th generation CPUs from Intel, Kaby Lake R, so it's a quad-core CPU, and I did a review of the previous version of this, the 7th generation. Fantastic device. I feel like they had updated a lot of stuff that people wanted, and this is just kind of a revision that's just a little bit better. Now, I want to clarify one thing before I go too much further into this review. A lot of people think that this device is a gaming laptop. I know most of you don't, but there's a surprising number of people that are like, hey, does this thing play games? It is not meant to be a gaming laptop. It's made by Razer. Razer makes gaming peripherals and gaming stuff, but this is not a dedicated gaming laptop. Not to say that it can't play games, like by itself, it can't. It's running some like non-gaming internals, but you can plug up an external GPU if you do want to play games, which I'll explain further down the line. But just to clarify, this is not a dedicated gaming laptop. Okay, so let's talk about things that haven't changed. The build quality hasn't changed. Nothing actually from the exterior has changed that much. The one biggest difference is that this model is the gunmetal gray version. So they still make the regular black one with the green Razer logo and RGB lights and stuff, but this one's gunmetal gray. And I like this one more, maybe because I've seen the black one so often, but this one's just a cleaner design to me. The logo is more subtle and everything just looks a little more muted. The one thing that is a good thing or a bad thing is that the RGBs on the keyboard that are on the regular Razer Blade Stealth are not present on the gunmetal gray version. They only light up in white. The keyboard, the trackpad, basically everything is exactly the same on the exterior. It's a good keyboard, good trackpad. They updated the trackpad in the previous version to use the Windows precision drivers, which are just way better. And the screen options are unchanged. This one here is running a 3200 by 1800 screen IGZO panel. It's not the brightest thing ever, but it's fairly bright and it has a pretty good color gamut. It also is a touchscreen if that's your thing. If you really like the colored RGB keyboard from the black model, but you want a clean finish like this, you can always get a skin from Dbrand, just cover it up, and it'll mute the logo and protect your laptop. The ports are unchanged. It's got two USB 3s, an HDMI, and then your Thunderbolt 3. Now this Thunderbolt 3 port is for power, like you can power it up through here, and it also supports 4 lanes of PCIe. So if you connect an external GPU to this thing, it gets full bandwidth. The one thing that's a little bit different between this one and the previous generation of gunmetal gray is that this one's a little bit darker. So this is the other one, the earlier 2017 one. It's really hard to tell from this camera, but this new one is slightly darker than this one. You know what? There's also another difference. On the inside, the little Intel stickers, the 8th generation one is like a quarter of the size of the old version. Now, I've seen some other 8th generation laptops that had a regular sized sticker, so I don't know why this little one exists. I know this is really important, right? You guys should be aware of all the little details about this laptop. Okay, the internals have changed a little. The layout is just a little bit different from previous generations. The RAM is still soldered on and the SSD is still removable, but they've actually used a much faster drive this year, which is nice. Now in terms of Coil Whine, my unit here does not have Coil Whine. I have seen a lot of reports of people getting Razer Blade Stealths with Coil Whine issues. All the review units I've ever had didn't have it, so I can't really comment on it, but this one, yet again, does not have it. Performance is excellent. This one's running the i7 and 16 gigs of RAM, and these new Kaby Lake R chips are quad-core CPUs that get really fast for a short burst. They benchmark really well. The built-in GPU is still pretty weak. You're still not going to be able to play some amazing games on or anything. You can play some light games, but even moderately demanding games are going to make it choke. So if you want to play games, you either get something completely different, like a gaming laptop, or you're going to have to connect an external GPU to this thing. Thermals under load are fine, and same thing with fan noise. It doesn't get super loud or anything. Now when you connect it to an external GPU, temperatures are also good. The external GPU handles most of the graphical stuff, so the laptop stays cool. Now if this is the type of setup you want, so like a thin and light Ultrabook combined with a external GPU, there's a lot of companies that do this kind of thing, but I still think the best company is Razer. They were the first people to do it, so they probably have a little bit more like experience with it, but the connection is rock solid and it just works really, really well. And I'm running the 1st generation Core still. They have a newer version that has an updated Thunderbolt 3 controller, and you can connect external devices that work on a different pipeline. But I mean, the performance is going to be identical to the 1st generation. But yes, if this is what you're looking for, I cannot recommend a better setup than these two. Now, it's still not 100% efficient. There's some issues with using Thunderbolt 3 GPUs, but for the most part, they're pretty good. Now, if you want to learn more about them, I've done a video that kind of details this whole process a little bit more. I'll link that below. Okay, the performance in video editing is not as good as you might expect. This is a quad-core CPU, but it's a 15-watt CPU. There are quad-core CPUs, like gaming laptops, that are 45-watt CPUs, and those are just able to maintain a higher clock speed for just longer periods of time. This can hit 4 gigahertz for a little burst, and then it'll drop down to its base clock. And when you're video editing, that's just not ideal. So you can get stuff done if you're working with 1080p footage, or you're just not video editing very frequently. Sure, it can kind of work, especially with an external GPU, but if you want something that's just more long-term, or you're working with higher res footage, go with something like a quad-core gaming laptop. Those just do much better for edits. Okay, battery life has not changed. I'm still getting 7 hours on this thing. I know with the Kaby Lake R, it's supposed to be slightly more efficient. I'm still getting 7 hours, and I think it comes from the screen. The IGZO panel looks nice, and the colors pop, but it just uses a little more juice. It is still, like, for the most part, a full-day battery, so I'm not too worried about it. If I had to nitpick on some things, and I mean, I do like this laptop a lot, but if I just had to be that guy that just hated on something, it would probably be the speakers. They're not bad. They're like really well positioned, but they don't sound amazing. They sound very like, you know, run-of-the-mill Ultrabook. There are thin and light Ultrabooks like the MacBooks that are just, they sound amazing, and it would be really cool if Razer could stick something like those into here. Then this thing would be like really, really cool. But yeah, not amazing speakers. The other thing is the backlighting on the function key. So like function 2, function 3, it also controls volume down and volume up, but in complete darkness, you can't see the secondary controls because they just don't light up. And it doesn't bother me because I rarely work in complete darkness, but for people that require that, yeah, you can't control brightness and stuff unless you know exactly which keys do what. But that's basically it. Those are some minor complaints about this really good laptop. They did a really good job of it last revision, and it's just even better now with the 8th gen CPUs. I'm gonna talk about one last thing. It's customer support, because I talked about it in previous videos with other devices. Razer's customer support is, I would consider it pretty mediocre. They're not a laptop company, right? They were originally a peripheral company and they got into the laptop game and they do a good job at it, but their customer support is lacking. And they don't have stuff like next day support. So if you have something with your laptop, some companies like Dell and HP, they'll send a technician to your house or your work and they'll kind of try to fix it. Razer doesn't have that. You have to send it back to them. So that's a bit of a bummer. It depends on what you want or need with your laptop support. I mean, if it's really important to you, then you might want to look elsewhere, but they make great laptops, and I think especially their Stealth line is thumbs up all around. Okay, hope you guys enjoyed this video. Thumbs if you liked it, subs if you loved it. See you guys next time.